Alright, hello YouTube, it's time to make another video. I'm going to be talking about DanDaDan, both seasons, but I'm going to be focusing mostly on season 1 because it's currently finished at time of recording. It's awesome. I made a short about it and I didn't have anything of any major consequence to say, so I wasn't going to make anything longer, but I thought an interesting thought and I decided that perhaps I should put it in a video. So that is what I'm going to be talking about today. So if that sounds interesting, feel free to stick around. I'm only going to go over the first episode because I don't want to ruin the rest of it if you haven't seen it, but you should by now because it's awesome. So, what's the concept? Imagine taking Ancient Aliens, which if you don't know is a pseudo-documentary about aliens.
A two-headed dog with 6 legs. The giant flying turtles.
And Ghost Hunters, which is like a ghost hunting show a la Phasmophobia.
We can't find Mike. The only thing that we can find is a donkey. A donkey.
Imagine taking those two and slamming them together with really good character writing, really good writing in general, comedy, and Japanese animation. That is DanDaDan. What pops out, that weird cocktail of craziness, is DanDaDan. It's wonderful. So what happens in it? DanDaDan opens with what can only be described as an abusive relationship. So Momo, our female protagonist, is being broken up with by her boyfriend. She's upset. She ends up running into a kid called Okarun. They end up having an argument. So he's a big alien guy. He really likes aliens for reasons that we'll learn in a bit.
Essentially mated with Earth women.
And she really likes ghosts. Her grandparent is a spirit medium. So they end up having an argument, and it's great because it's the alien enthusiast arguing that ghosts don't exist, and the ghost enthusiast arguing that aliens don't exist. So it's like the best WWE match of all time. I really would pay to see that again. They end up daring each other, basically, to go to different spots. So Momo is dared to go to an abduction hotspot. It turns out to be just an abandoned hospital. Looks more like a haunted hospital, but who am I? What do I know? Okarun goes to a tunnel, a weird abandoned tunnel. So whilst they're there, we then get treated to this really well-written, well-paced, just heartwarming scene where they each describe why they believe in the thing that they believe. So as I said, Momo, her grandmother, is a spirit medium, and so she really likes ghosts or whatever. And Okarun is a little bit less reasonable. So he doesn't have any friends. He's given up on making human friends, and so his great idea is to be abducted by aliens and hope they'll be his friends, which doesn't seem to me to be a particularly clever idea, but once again, what do I know? Shit hits the proverbial fan. Momo gets abducted by aliens who want to do some unspeakable, and Okarun gets possessed by Turbo Granny, who's like a spirit who can run really fast. The first thing she says is like, let me gobble your weenie. Which should tell you all you need to know about the humor and the source of tension in DanDaDan. Her trade in that situation is, I'll let you suckle my so, you know, it's a weird anime. It's a weird anime. Anyway, so Okarun gets possessed. He ends up on the spaceship through technological shenanigans. He ends up fighting the aliens, and it turns out that Momo has psychic powers, and then she ends up beating the aliens, and then they escape. And then the next few episodes are them trying to cure Okarun's possession by Turbo Granny. That all sounds ridiculous. It all sounds wild. None of it sounds coherent or possibly even watchable, but it is absolutely brilliant because it's just executed unbelievably well, which we'll get into in a second. But that is the concept for DanDaDan. Little bit of a side tangent. I've been watching Alien World recently. It's not very good. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it looks great. It's a really good looking show and it's well directed. I mean, there's these weird 5-second black screens. I assume they're for ads or something, but it's weird because it's on a streaming service. Anyway, the problem with the show is none of the characters are likable. They're all either weird, creepy, or annoying, and they have stupid names. One of the guys on the spaceship was called Chlamydia. What? That guy's mother hated him. It is an absolute death knell for your show to not have any likable characters. DanDaDan has the opposite problem. They're all likable. And, well, it's not really a problem. They're just wonderful. Momo is this lovely, earnest girl. She's great. Okarun is this weird little nerdy guy. Awesome. Turbo Granny, full of personality. Momo's grandmother is also awesome. All the monster side characters, the aliens, the ghosts, they're great. Arya is this crazy, absolutely insane, delusional lady. Gigi, who's easily my least favorite, is still pretty good. It's hard to compete with the rest of him. He's not bad, he's just bad in comparison. They just have such a stellar cast of characters. It's unbelievable. I don't know how they pulled it off. Every single one of them is likable. Normally in a show, you'll have a few characters that you like, but no, in DanDaDan, I like all of them. There's nobody I don't like except maybe Gigi, but again, that's just because he's bad in comparison. They're just all so charismatic. They all act like real people. It's great, and it really lends itself to telling the story. It just goes to show how important it is to have well-written characters. DanDaDan is funny.
Finally, I found myself an amazing friend.
There's not a lot of anime that are haha funny. I mean, there's a lot of anime that you like to laugh at, like something like, what the hell's its name? Oh, hang on a second. Whoa, why have I forgotten it? Oh, I gotta look it up. Campione! That's it. Campione. Like, you like to laugh at anime like Campione? Because they suck. I mean, they really, really suck. By the way, if you're gonna watch Campione, don't watch more than 4 episodes. Just watch the 4 episodes and preferably do it whilst drunk. You've got some anime that are haha. I mean, Ghost Stories is haha.
You'll have to catch me first, fat ass. Right there. Oh, the music teacher. What a bitch.
Again, don't watch that all in bulk. Sort of watch episodes individually.
Think of a big black man chasing you.
Konosuba is a haha anime. It's great. 90% of the comedy in that relies on facial expressions, but it just all works. I mean, it's a brilliant anime. DanDaDan is funny like that. It's funny in different ways though. A lot of it has to do with just the way the characters behave, Momo's personality, the interactions between the characters.
Everything's back to normal.
Not quite.
Say what?
My balls.
Huh?
My balls are gone.
It's funny. It's actually very entertaining, which, as I said in the short, is wild, given the fact that the threat that the bad guys pose is almost always of an unspeakable nature. I don't know how they pull it off. Like, it's really, really dark at times, and you feel it. Like, it feels uncomfortable to watch. But the anime remains funny, but it's just something unique to DanDaDan. It's exceptional. People could say that they dislike DanDaDan the same way that I could say I could dislike a Rembrandt painting, but you can't say it's bad. DanDaDan is just it's a great anime, and people can argue over whether or not it's the best, but you really can't argue that it's a good anime. I mean, it's just great. All of what I've said thus far has been said by many other people. You could read it in any review, I'm sure. So why did I want to talk about DanDaDan? I wanted to talk about DanDaDan for this last subject, but I needed to talk about all that other stuff to get it out of the way. I had an argument a little bit ago with someone about the difference between art and propaganda. And when you talk about these things, you really come to realize that you don't know what art is or what propaganda is. I mean, it's really hard to define. But DanDaDan strikes me as art. I mean, there's something special here. People like to say that we watch stories or we play video games or whatever to escape the world, as a form of escapism. Which I get, I understand, and to a degree I agree, but that's not really what these things are. Stories aren't, at their heart, a form of escapism. A story, when it becomes art, tells you something about the world. It shows you something. It doesn't lecture to you or sit you down and tell you how things are or lie to you. It just lets you see something. If you have the eyes to see, you'll see it. DanDaDan strikes me like that. At its heart, DanDaDan is this lovely romance story where Momo and Okarun, these awkward people, fall in love. The first half of one of the early episodes, is devoted entirely to Momo and Okarun trying to find each other at break time. They can't find each other and they both start having anxious thoughts about the other not liking them. It's wonderful, and it ends with them finding each other, and life is messy. I mean, it's hard, and no wonder. I mean, there's plenty of things to be sad about, or depressed about, or angry about, or anxious about. Life is hard, but it's also the place where all the good things happen. And art helps you see the important things. It helps you see the essence of things. DanDaDan reminds you that life is hard, and life is messy, but things like this happen. People fall in love. You have these wonderful situations happen. Maybe not as telegraphed or choreographed as they happen in shows, but they do happen. And I think this is just something that DanDaDan does beautifully. Its characters are so human. They respond exactly like you would think they do. Everyone has felt the same way that Okarun felt or Momo felt when they couldn't find each other. Everyone has felt anxious that whoever it was they were interested in didn't like them, or any of the countless other circumstances that happen in the show. Because of how human the reactions are and how human DanDaDan is, despite all the crazy ghost stuff and the crazy alien stuff, it helps you see that these things happen. It helps you appreciate life a little bit more. I know that's all very lofty, and this is a show about aliens and ghosts, but I really do think that DanDaDan strikes me as art. I don't know what it's trying to show me, but it reminds me a lot of that scene in Wall-E. One of my favorite films is Wall-E. And if you ever saw me watching Wall-E, when the scene comes up where Eve and Wall-E are dancing in space with the fire extinguisher, if you looked at me instead of the screen, you would see the biggest dumb smile on my face. DanDaDan makes me feel like that. DanDaDan expresses that because it's so human. It's so relatable. It's art.
Okarun! See you tomorrow!
I don't know what art is. I'm not an artist. My creative abilities are, if you believe it, more analytical than creative. But I can... This seems like art to me. DanDaDan manages to show you something. It manages to show you what relationships are like. It manages to show you how people react, how people respond to things. And that's what makes it art. It's not escapism. You can watch it as escapism, but it shows you why life is worth living. And I know that's all lofty. We're talking about an anime about aliens and ghosts here. But that's what art does. It might not be on the same level as I said, a Rembrandt painting or something, or some incredible piece of art in some other domain, but DanDaDan is something special. And I think that needs to be acknowledged, which is why I wanted to talk about it.